And welcome to the Stories on Tape podcast. I'm Josh, your host, and here today with me, a very special friend, Sarah Pearce. For a second there, I almost forgot your last name, Sarah. So sorry about that. I was like, wait, I'm saying her name right. How are you, Sarah?
I'm doing well. Yeah, doing well.
Well, thank you so much for joining me.
Yeah, thanks so much for having me.
Yeah. So Sarah and I know each other. We were coworkers for about a year. In Henderson, Tennessee, a very small town. And then we left around the same time. So Sarah, tell everyone a little bit about, I guess, your journey to what you're doing now. How'd you get started? How'd you get interested? Was it kind of a high school thing? How did it all get started for you?
Yeah, so in high school, I was very interested in writing. I loved writing, and I also loved art. And so I knew I wanted to pursue something creative. And when I was looking at college, I sort of looked at graphic design and I looked at English, and then the communications department, as you know, came along and they pitched themselves as the storytelling department. And I was like, I think that's actually what I want to do. So I was an advertising major and film minor. It was a new minor at Harding. And I didn't really think that film would be where I went long term, but I knew I was interested in it, and I knew that it would probably work pretty well with an advertising major. And then my first job out of college was with Bramblett Group, where we were coworkers.
Yes.
And that was sort of a crazy time. That was like right after the pandemic. Like, we're sort of still in the pandemic, actually, but
unfortunately, yes. Yeah. So we also went to the same college. Weirdly, it's small, but we didn't know each other really. We didn't have like any crazy interaction that I remember.
I don't think so. I might have seen you in like TV prac, but that was maybe it.
Yes. Yeah. Okay. That's what I thought. And then, we worked together. We were both videographers and editors at Bramblett Group. And so Sarah, I think one of my favorite stories that includes Sarah is like day 3 of her working at Bramblett Group. I tore my meniscus in my left knee just like a few weeks before we were supposed to go out and like travel across West Tennessee to film in every county for a project. And so what was supposed to be me and Sarah doing that turned into Sarah solely doing that because I couldn't walk for 3 months.
It was really sad.
Yeah, that was I forgot that was like your like second or third day. Like you had been there for no time at all. And then we're just kind of like thrown this huge project. So thank you for saving the day. It's very much appreciated.
Glad that you can walk now and be okay. It was very scary. Like, I feel like, I don't know, it was pretty dramatic. We had to, they were like, call the ambulance. And like, I almost did. And they were like, never mind, he's awake. Like, cause you had passed out. But anyways, yeah.
Yes, that was a fun day. That was a fun few months. And then I was on a walker and then, just don't have the coordination for crutches. So, what was so storytelling, what the podcast is all about, videography is what you're kind of a big part of your life right now, at least. And when we were working together, you can tell some pretty cool stories with video, a little bit of sound, and maybe some music to kind of set the mood. So how do you think visual storytelling, videography is different, is unique, makes someone or helps tell a story? How do you think it does that?
Yeah, so I think that kind of why I love film and video so much is because it's synthesis, like you were talking about. It's using images and also sounds to convey a message. And it's like, and movement, because it's like, photography is a moment in time. And in that sense, it's beautiful because it's sort of distilled. But what I think I love about film is that it's like evolving in real time, just like your life is evolving in real time.
I love that. So film, for you, film helps show what obviously what the videographer is seeing, but it also helps you can relate to it almost. You can kind of make a connection to similar experiences you've had or similar things you've seen or similar things you've done. And that's part of why I love it, is that you can show things, whereas just writing or just pictures alone is one thing, but to do video, you can show so much more. You can show action, you can show love, you can show emotion. And I think that's what's so cool about video. What are your experiences with editing either video that you haven't shot but you've been given, or video that you've shot? Do you have kind of like a process you always use when you go through it, or is it just kind of project by project based?
What I do right now anyways is I like sort of have like the big bin of my video and audio, and I put them all on a timeline, like everything on a timeline. And then I trim that timeline to like what I think is the best pieces. And then from there, I'll like kind of build out whatever the finalized piece is. But yeah, I love the editing process for what it is. It's kind of like the yin to the yang of shooting, because shooting is like, it gets you out in the world and you're with people and you're interacting. Editing is the flip side of the coin, where it's like very internal and very much just like you trying to create the best possible product out of what's been handed to you or what you've shot. So yeah, I do enjoy editing. I enjoy the timing of it. I think that there's like a lot of instinct that goes into the timing of editing. And maybe I think it does come from just watching a lot of film or a lot of video and engaging with that. But I really love just like the feeling of getting a cut just right, and you know that it's just right. So like down to the frame. So
Yes, you get those little goosebumps and you're like, I did it. I did something and I think people are going to like it. Yeah. And as filmmakers grow and as we've watched movies, certain directors, certain videographers have a very specific style. You watch a movie, you watch something, you're like, oh, I know who shot that. Oh, I know, what they were going for there. What's the Sarah Pearce style? Is there a certain look you go for? Is there a thing you kind of always try to do in each of your projects?
Yeah, so that's an interesting question. I think that my style, more than anything, is about emotion. So like it's about building out an emotion, which I think that it's like finding even like just the tiniest snippet. So I use quite a bit of like fast cuts, but I just want to find the pieces of the video that have the purest emotion. So even if it's like 3 frames of a smile or something, like I want that in there because it's just such a pure expression. And so when you like have kind of a string of those together, and especially I like to do it where they're like all sort of building towards the same emotion, or you can even like kind of complicate an emotion. So it's like joy, but it's also like passion for something, I don't know. Or it's sadness, but it's also like longing. I like to use like just, even if it's short pieces, to build those out.
I love that. I can picture that in my head. I've seen several of your videos that you've worked on, and so I just know what you're talking about. And you're so good at it. You're so good at it. I can't wait to see what you're able to do. So tell us a little bit, you're in Nashville now. Tell us a little bit about what you're doing there in Nashville. You're getting to work with some pretty cool projects and things.
So the project is We Are Nashville. Check it out on wearenashville.com. And it's been going on for the past 4 years, and I've been working on it for like the past 6 months or so. And there's been a photojournalist working on it for those past 4 years and building it out. And like the amount of content there is truly amazing. It kind of the point of it is to follow lives and ordinary lives, like not, some of the people are higher profile and like names that you may recognize, but really it's about just the little moments that matter. So like conversations with a mother, or like, holding a child for the first time, or watching someone die. Like it's really intimate, and it's, I think, beautiful in that way. And so what we're doing over the next year or so is, I don't want to give away too much, but we're going to be running campaigns to try to sort of encapsulate all of it, and hopefully kind of bring it to like a nice resolution.
Great. I love that. Leaving us on a bit of a cliffhanger. So it was We Are Nashville.
Mm-hmm. We Are Nashville. Okay. And you
Perfect.
Can find it at wearenashville.com.
Perfect. Yes, go check it out. Can't wait. I will definitely be looking for those releases. And so how did you get involved with them? What was that process like?
Yeah, so I met the photojournalist through some mutual connections, and so I sort of started off kind of on a trial basis. I was just doing like some smaller pieces, smaller video pieces for the project, and they liked my work. They liked working with me, and so it kind of has evolved into this like really nice relationship. And the people I'm working with on that project are just really awesome. So that's been great.
That's fantastic. I love it. Oh, I'm so excited for you. And so I think the big question that I want to keep asking everyone that I talk to is, why do you think storytelling is so important?
Yeah, so man, I could get long-winded on this one, so I'll try to keep it condensed. But I really do believe that like storytelling is maybe like the thing, or one of the things that just actually makes us human, because like it's something that animals don't do, right? Is share information with each other, and like it's, first of all, just that fact that we can share information with each other over time is really important, but also that we can like empathize with each other through storytelling. So you can empathize with someone you've actually never even met. And the ability to do that, and the way that storytelling can take you into another person's perspective, I think is one of the most powerful things about it. So yeah, I really love it.
Sarah getting deep on us today. I love that. Yes. And I think it's also part of it, for me at least, is it's fun memories. Like you can just look back on things that maybe you've forgotten, but another person hasn't, or you remember part of it, but not the whole story. And so getting to just tell stories and laugh and remember, and just the good times and the bad times, but the good times, especially, and the laughter that it brings, I think is what makes it so fun and so important to keep doing.
Yeah, I agree.
And so, Sarah, what do you think, where would you like to go with your storytelling? Are there certain things you want to do? Are there certain places you want to see? What's next for you?
Yeah, so that's a really good question. I've only been doing the freelance thing for around 6 or 7 months now. And I've been bootstrapping kind of my own, I guess like one-man production company almost. But yeah, so I've really enjoyed that. I've enjoyed working with different clients. I think really long term, I would love to be doing like narrative fiction storytelling, or even narrative documentary, like just more documentary work. But I do love the world of film. I have a really, I don't know, just a passion for film, and for the form of it and the structure of it. So that's something I would love to do long term. But right now, I'm just happy finding where this journey goes.
So Sarah, freelance videography, what does that look like in 2022? You've been at it, like you said, 6 or 7 months. How's it going? What does it look like?
Yeah, so basically what I do on kind of like a weekly basis changes quite a bit. So every day could look a little bit different. Typically there's kind of like an ebb and flow of I shoot some and then I edit some. And it could be like a whole week of shooting and a whole week of editing, or it could be like a couple of days of shooting and then a few days of editing here and there. But that's sort of how like the rhythm of my work goes, I guess, is shooting and editing. And also the other piece of it is trying to self-market and self-promote a little bit. So yeah, trying to stay somewhat active on social media is something I've traditionally been pretty terrible at, but trying to improve at. And just honestly, just building connections though is even more important. Like probably 90% of the work I've gotten has been word of mouth. So it's a lot about just building strong relationships, treating people well. Yeah.
Yes, and that's what I was going to ask too is, are you looking for people? Are you finding people? Is it more of a people hear about or see what you're doing and reach out to you?
At the beginning, it was a lot of me like searching with varying levels of success. So at the beginning, especially, and I still do quite a bit of wedding work, but at the beginning, that was really like almost all that I was doing. And for that, I was like pretty actively trying to promote and reach out via social media a lot, and like encouraging people to like put my name out there, I guess. Lately it's been more people coming to me, which is a nice feeling. I do still feel the need to like promote some, so yeah, it's I feel like it's always going to be a little bit of self-promotion, but there have been more people like a little bit farther along coming to me.
How do you find a story, do you think? What do you look for when you start shooting or start editing video?
A lot of time, well, I try to go into shooting with a plan. So I try to go into it with already having an idea of the structure of the thing that I'm making in mind. And so I guess like that story, the initial like plan for the shooting comes from either what the client wants or like what I know, some like interesting emotions or interesting ideas that I could pull on might be in the shoot. So that's part of it. Or sometimes, occasionally it will be like a visual thing, like I can almost see the thing in my head before I go shoot it. There was a piece recently that I did that was like a boxing thing, and I knew that I wanted it to feel like almost like ballet, almost like dancing in some parts, and then really just like brutal in other parts. So, and like have that juxtaposition. So that one was a visual one. So shooting, yeah, it's either the client, it's the structure, or it's the visual. With editing, again, I do try to have some sort of structure in mind. With documentary pieces and interview pieces, it tends to be easier. Weddings too, because they almost all follow like the same kind of format. But it also depends on when I dig into the footage, kind of what's there and what I know that will be good and what I don't want to lose. So that's a part of it too.
Yeah, I think that's a great process to have, because it is hard sometimes, especially if you show up somewhere and you have no idea what the place is going to look like, or you haven't really had the chance to talk to the client. It can be really difficult to get that story across when you only have, sometimes you only have like an hour or two to get everything that you need. Other times you've got all day. So it just depends. But yeah. And then what about some advice? I know we are still relatively young, but we've been doing this for a while. We've shot things, we've done things. Are there things you've learned, or like a big something that sticks out to you about storytelling when it comes to videography and editing?
One of my biggest tips is just absorb everything you can, like learn from great art, watch, try not to consume too much junk food in terms of art, like spend the time in really good material, and that will kind of help you develop an instinct for what's good. And that is really invaluable. Like once you don't have to be like, it just gives you a lot of confidence, and it makes things faster because like that this works and that this doesn't, and maybe you can't even explain in that exact moment like why that, but it. And I think that a lot of that comes from just consuming good art. And the other thing is just like know that your story and what you have to say matters, and it is unique and different. Everything kind of under the sun has been said, but that shouldn't stop you from like putting your own take on it, I think, because that's what we've always been doing, and it's what we're still doing. So
Ooh, that gave me chills, Sarah. I love that. Just because everything's been said doesn't mean what you have to say doesn't matter. I love that. And kind of going back to the beginning of that answer, do you think it's important to kind of consume different kinds of media?
I think so. I think it can be really helpful. So I find like painting especially really helpful in composition for video. And obviously there's like a huge implication. Well, like music is really important in video. And so like it's important to have a good ear for music. And so, yeah, I don't know. I'm a big believer in, again, synthesis and the idea that like all of these different components and art forms can like come together to be something bigger and better.
Is there a story that involves the two of us that you can think of that makes you smile, that makes you laugh, that you like to tell? I'm trying to think, besides me standing up and tearing my meniscus and freaking everyone out in the process. That
is a memorable one. I feel like there are kind of a lot. It's like, but it's like thinking of which ones is kind of tricky because there were just a lot of like funny late nights.
We did spend, that is the thought that I just had. We spent quite a few nights in the Bramblett Group office together, editing all kinds of things. I think when I think of Sarah, my favorite clip, and I'm going to see if I can find it, is there is a safari park in Alamo, and I think you guys were in a car filming it, and Sarah got this amazing shot of a giraffe like sticking its head over the car, and it's just like, you don't see it at first, and then all of a sudden its head just appears, and it's truly one of my favorite pieces of video I've ever seen because it's so unexpected and it's great. And so we would look for it every time we played that video. So that's, I think, one of my favorites of you. I don't know if that's a story, but just like when I think of you, very often that piece of video for some reason always pops into my head.
Yeah, no, that's funny. The backstory on that is just like we were all very afraid of that giraffe, and like all the animals would just like attack you. It was one of those kinds of safari parks, so they were all after us. But I think when I think of you, though, I think of walks. The walks, I think.
Yes, we did. We spent a lot of time walking around Henderson over that year when it was warm out. There were a few weeks where it was too cold, but yeah, we did. I honestly forgot about that, but we did. We spent a lot of time walking and talking. Those were some good times.
They were. It kept me sane.
So if people want to follow your story and the stories you're telling, Sarah, where can they find you? What should they look for?
Yeah, so you can find me at sarahpearcefilms.com or that's so weird. I don't know, having a website's weird. Or you can find me at Sarah Pearce Films on Instagram. Yeah, those are probably the best ones.
Yes, and that's Pearce, Pearce, not...
Yeah, Sarah with an H.
Yes. Yes, Sarah with an H, Pearce. Well, Sarah, thank you so much. This has been fantastic, friend. I'm so excited to see what all these stories you're about to be telling.
Yes, I'm really excited, and I'm excited to talk to you. And yeah, I hope you're having fun in Colorado.
Thank you. It's been great so far. All right, we'll talk again soon.
Alrighty.
Bye. Thanks so much for listening to the Stories on Tape podcast. Don't forget to follow us on Instagram at Stories on Tape Pod and Twitter at Stories on Tape. Now, if you have a storyteller you think should be on a future episode or a story you want to share, email me at storiesontapepodcast@gmail.com. And don't forget to keep following our guests and their stories too. Links to their social medias are in the description of the episode. Can't wait to share more stories with you.